And coverage of goods cleared has been expanded to include all intra-regional trade within the community. This has resulted in a drastic reduction of the period taken to clear goods from over 20 days to 3 or 4 days on the Central Corridor, and from 21 days to 4 days from Mombasa to Kampala, and from 18 days to 6 days to Kigali on the Northern Corridor. It is also worth noting that out of the 15 borders earmarked to operate as one-stop border posts, 13 have been completed and are now operational. The one-stop border posts have reduced transit costs incurred in cross-border movement by combining the activities of both countries' border organizations and agencies at a single location in each direction. In addition, Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania have also commenced issuance of the International East African e-passport. Actually, Burundi has also started. With the East African e-passport, we are now being recognized. Engineers, architects, accountants, and veterinary officers have been signed, and the process is underway for land surveyors and advocates. These agreements allow professionals in these categories to practice anywhere within the region, as each partner state recognizes one another's conformity assessments. Under the monetary union pillar, programs for harmonization of capital markets and payment systems are ongoing. The community has harmonized critical policies necessary for sustainable monetary union and remains firmly on course towards attaining a single currency by the year 2024. The East African Legislative Assembly recently enacted the East African Monetary Institute Bill 2018 and the East African Statistics Bureau Bill 2018. There's also considerable progress in the political federation pillar, and the EAC has set the stage for the commencement of developing a constitution for the political model of the East African Political Federation. EAC partner states' armed forces, police and civilian components have established a combined joint task force that plans and undertakes joint operations. Such joint operations incorporate peace support operations, counter-terrorism, counter-piracy and disaster management, as well as tackle other complex security challenges in the region. Several safety monitoring centers have also been established on Lake Victoria. Your Excellencies, since 2016, the EAC has mobilized over $360 million from various development partners as grants. These include USA Development Bank, the United Nations, the Federal Republic of Germany, the People's Republic of China, Japan, Denmark, Switzerland, and the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, among many others. These funds are all allotted to support various development projects and programs in the community. In addition to the above, the African Development Bank and African Development Fund approved $2.5 billion for the implementation of new and ongoing priority infrastructure projects in the EAC region up to the year 2022. The significant strides made in resource mobilization are indicators of our development partners' confidence in us. We look forward to mobilizing more resources for development projects in our region in 2019. Your Excellencies, I wish to inform you that the EAC received a clean audit report for all EAC organs and institutions for the financial year 2017-2018. operationalize a project to facilitate the coordination of projects. The unit serves as a one-stop desk for information on EAC projects, both internally and externally. The EAC Secretariat has continued implementing minimal reforms aimed at managing our travel budget with the view of ensuring efficiency. To this end, Your Excellencies, the EAC travel budget has reduced significantly as we are now using video conference facilities as well as hosting more meetings at the EAC headquarters. We shall continue implementing reforms until we conform to internationally accepted standards. Your Excellencies, despite these significant achievements, it is ironic that most East Africans cannot associate themselves with the community. To address the challenge, EAC organs and institutions have embarked on various outreach programs and its role in their lives. Going forward, the EAC will work on building stronger relationships with the private sector, both within the region and globally. We acknowledge the private sector has a vital role in competitive advantage for the region as well as creation of jobs. Your Excellencies, you have worked on a detailed roadmap. We have worked on a detailed roadmap to integrate the Republic of South Sudan in the EAC projects and programs, which is currently under implementation. Mainstreaming of the Republic of South Sudan needs to be fast-tracked to be at the same level of integration with the other partner states, especially in the implementation of the customs union and the common market protocols. Your Excellencies, as we mark 20 years of regional integration, our achievements cannot be downplayed. The East African community of today is not what it was 20 years ago in terms of development. Our countries are more vibrant with increased trade, improved infrastructure, and an overall positive trend in socio-economic development. The EAC is in the global spotlight as the most promising regional economic community. I wish to conclude by thanking you, Your Excellencies, for your commitment, zeal, and determination to make the EAC dream a reality. I also wish to acknowledge the EAC policy organs for their guidance. I thank you all for your attention and wish the 20th Ordinary Summit of the EAC.
Thank you, Secretary General. I now call upon the outgoing chairperson of the Council to make his statement and present the reports of Council to the Summit and the report on implementation of previous directives and decisions of the Summit that covers A, status of ratification of protocols, B, status on resolution of long outstanding non-tariff barriers, progress report on the review of the South African Development Bank to mainstream it into the South African community main structures, report on the roadmap for the accelerated integration of the Republic of South Sudan. Chairperson of the Council.
Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, Your Excellencies, members of the Summit, Excellencies, Head of States and Governments, Honorable Ministers, Cabinet Secretaries, the Secretary General of the East African Community, Right Honorable Speaker of the East African Legislative Assembly, His Lordship, the Judge, President of the East African Court of Justice, Excellencies, Head of UN agencies, Representative of regional economic communities, Excellencies of the development partners and private sector, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. you have listened carefully to the report of the Secretary General, and I am not going to repeat what the Secretary General has done, because he implements what the Council directs. Items which, to reassure you that the Council is moving. One of the things which was enshrined in our treaty was that the East African is people-based and private sector-led. Your Excellencies, I want to report that yesterday I witnessed the headquarters of the private sector in Arusha. It is on the one of the big floors in one of the buildings here, and I thought, as it is one, you better the private sector, and His Excellencies are pretty tired. They have been sitting all the day, but maybe just a few words, and I continue with my speech. He is Nicholas Nesbitt, the chairman of the East African Business Council.
Thank you, Chairman, Your Excellencies. And if I may, in the spirit of being brief, simply say all protocols observed. I have a very long speech, but again, in terms of being brief, let me say a few words. I want to appreciate, first of all, the work that has been done over the last few days in addressing some of the long-standing issues, in particular the non-tariff barriers. My board, who's up here from the East African Business Council, we've had very intense deliberations around what it's going to take to be successful in East Africa. And I think, if I really get to the heart of it, it is ensuring that we think region before we think wear those same used garments and pay a similar price. And in the meantime, in Burundi, allow our cotton industry to rust and our production to disappear. And then we say, let's be manufacturers, let's be producers, and simply we turn into traders. So as the East African Business Council, we're paying a lot of attention to this drive to produce. We want to be producers of value. We don't want to be traders. There's a role for traders, but let's manufacture. On that particular note, it's also very important. We've spent a lot of time with our Minister of Foreign Affairs in Kenya and many others in Tanzania, and we're talking about we need regional value chains. If Kenya, for example, is going to manufacture or assemble, let me say, German vehicles in Thika, why can't we have tires from Tanzania, exhaust pipes from Uganda, dashboards from Burundi? So this becomes an East African car, not just a Kenyan car. If Scania does that in Dar es Salaam, let it be the same thing. And I promise you, legislators, these sticky things called non-tariff barriers will drop when the immigration and customs officials will say, hini wetu, let it go through. So our vision through Namanga without stopping. We'll use technology, we'll ensure that things are done properly, but that's our vision. And most importantly, let me say, it is a shame again that we waste the resources that we have, the intellectual capacity of our youth. the industrial drive of our entrepreneurs by limiting them to national borders. Let us be free. They say 150 million people. Local investors can get economies of scale, and most importantly, not even most importantly, let me just say, additionally, foreign investors can see East Africa for what it is, a 150 million people market. So we implore, we urge that we as private sector get a seat at the table. We have been observers for a long time. We would like to get out of the proverbial stands, come into the field, and help in the formulation of trade policy, and not come to events like this just to listen to a readout. We want to participate because our heart is in exactly the same place as the legislators. And as the chairman said, we're here to make jobs, create wealth, and uplift our people from poverty. With a few words, let me say asanteni, and we really appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Which has been repeated by the Secretary General from me.